Europe, 1944. The most devastating war the world had ever seen was raging at full speed. The Normandy landings had taken place and the Allies were advancing, but standing against them was the German war machine, the Wehrmacht, renowned for its discipline and deadly firepower. Thousands of soldiers were dying for every meter of ground. To break through this wall of steel, more tanks or more men were not enough. A miracle was needed. And that miracle began with a strange sight appearing in the middle of the battlefield. German observers peering through their binoculars were in shock. American soldiers were lifting 30-ton Sherman tanks with one hand, hoisting them onto their shoulders and carrying them away. Was this a new super soldier project, or had the Americans gone mad? The answer was neither. What the Germans were seeing was the greatest and most secret illusion in the history of warfare. The soldiers before them were members of the Ghost Army, who would defeat the enemy not with bullets, but with imagination. Officially known as the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, but history would remember them as the Ghost Army. So what was the secret of this 1,100-man covert unit? The soldiers of this unit were not classic infantrymen who knew how to dig trenches or dismantle rifles. They were painters recruited from New York art schools, set designers from Broadway stages, illusionists, sculptors, and creative directors from advertising agencies. When the war began, instead of sending these creative minds to the front lines as ordinary troops, the U.S. Army gave them a very special mission: to deceive the German army. Their task was simple: to act as if they did not exist where they were, and as if an entire army existed where they were not. They were the stage designers of war, and Europe was their theater. The Ghost Army had no real weapons in its arsenal. They had three primary methods of deception. First, visual deception. The artists designed inflatable tanks, jeeps, and trucks made of rubber and canvas, exact replicas of the real thing. Within minutes, they could inflate them and create a fake army that from a distance looked no different from a real armored division. To make it convincing from the air for German reconnaissance planes, they even created real tank tread marks around the inflatable vehicles. Second, sonic deception. Sound engineers had recorded the noises of real tanks and advancing infantry in training camps back in America. At the front, they broadcast these sounds from vehicles equipped with massive loudspeakers, loud enough to be heard from 20 kilometers away. When the Germans heard this rumble coming from the forest, they panicked, believing an entire army was advancing toward them. In reality, there were only a few speakers. Third, radio deception. Skilled actors spent hours at radio sets performing fake scenarios, speaking in the voices of imaginary generals, and discussing fabricated attack plans. When German intelligence intercepted these conversations, they moved their units to the wrong locations to prepare for attacks that did not even exist. All of these talents faced their greatest test toward the end of the war in March 1945, the crossing of the Rhine River. For the Allies to enter the heart of Germany, they had to cross the Rhine. The Germans believed the main assault would come from the north. To reinforce this belief, the Allied command deployed the Ghost Army. Near the town of Viersen, the Ghost Army launched the largest fake military buildup in history. At night, they placed hundreds of inflatable tanks across the fields. From loudspeakers, they broadcast the sounds of bridge construction and tank engines until morning. Over the radios, they discussed fabricated plans for an imminent large-scale attack. The result was a tremendous success. The German army moved its heavy units to Viersen to counter this false threat. For days, German artillery bombarded empty fields filled with inflatable tanks and loudspeakers. Meanwhile, the real American army crossed the Rhine miles to the south, facing almost no resistance. The Ghost Army had changed the course of the war without firing a single shot.
When the war ended, the soldiers of the Ghost Army returned home to their art studios and advertising agencies. Among them were future fashion designer Bill Blass and painter Ellsworth Kelly. But they were given a strict order: you will never speak of what you have done. This great secret remained classified until the 1990s. It's estimated that their illusions saved the lives of between 15,000 and 30,000 Allied soldiers. They were shadow heroes who proved that art could be used not only to create, but also to protect. Amid the roar of bullets and bombs, they showed the world that sometimes the most powerful weapon is simply a cleverly constructed lie.